Shalom, 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 family. It's your bro, True Jew, your Ak True Jew, tapping in with you. I hope everybody's been doing well. It has been a minute, haven't it? It seemed like it's been a little longer because it has been. I was actually blocked from making videos for a whole, it was supposed to be 7 days, but it turned out that YouTube got some fine print. And where they said it was going to be 7 days, it was really 7 business days. And so that was something that I wasn't too excited about. Let me move this over, and then what I'm gonna do is upload this. I'm still getting used to this new thing right here. So let me see if I can center this up. Y'all bear with me as I get my chops together with this. Let's see. Reset. Okay. Let's see. How do I do that again? Property. That's like that. Let me see. I want to put it in the middle. Then we gonna get started. Let me see if I can do it. I knew it was a way where I could do it real simply. Let me see. I could put it off to the side. I could put it off to the front if I want to. Let me just give y'all a chance to come on in too. Give everybody a chance to make their way in. Cause I got a cool lesson to share with y'all today. Being off from this have given me a chance to. I'll just move it over manually. It ain't gonna hurt nobody. Being off from this platform have given me a chance to obviously handle other things for sure. But if I'm away too long, I know the family be wondering what's going on. You know, and I appreciate y'all's concern and care, most definitely. But I wasn't off of the platform because I wanted to be off the platform. I actually released a video. I think it was Friday the 3rd, right before the Shabbat. And by the time I got back to it, I seen it might have been a couple comments on the video. I'm not sure, but it was gone. And I said, "What happened? What happened to the video?" And turns out that YouTube claimed it goes against their community standards and guidelines. So seeing as this was my first channel strike, they took the content down, which they have done before, but not having given me a strike. And they claimed that it was hate speech, but there was nothing hateful about the video. You know your bruh. I don't get on here cussing and talking crazy. I don't get on here hating nobody. I don't get on here promoting violence to others and nothing like that. So they didn't like the truth that came out. And when the truth comes out, people in power and so-called high positions and places, they get threatened by that and they get upset by that, and it makes them feel some kind of way. And platform like this, where they can have all sorts of debauchery showing, it's okay. It's quite fine for them to show that because that goes with their agenda. But when somebody like myself gets to speaking like similar to how I speak and gets to speaking with some sense about them, articulates thoughts, and is able to convey those thoughts into the types of movement and idea that help people consider change, well, that's a problem. And when the facts are presented along with the thought, that's an even greater problem. And so that's what happened. So, the last week or so, I began migrating content over to Rumble, and I'll be releasing that content. It's all content that y'all have seen on this channel before, but I'm gonna start using Rumble, and that'll be my expanded channel where if there's anything that I have to say that will go against YouTube's community guidelines, well then I'll say it on Rumble. and I'll say it unfiltered, and so you'll be able to get it raw, real, and uncut the way I like to dish it, and you'll be able to move in a way where you don't have to worry about me getting content taken down from off of this channel. Okay, so I think that ultimately we're gonna keep it pushing and we're gonna keep it moving and rocking. So I hope everybody's been well. I hope you all had a blessed Shabbat. I know that the Shabbat is over right now, and I actually had hoped and intended to do a Shabbat lesson today, like I normally would. However, I was away from the platform, and some things happened on the Shabbat that prevented me from actually being able to deliver the lesson that I had originally had in mind for y'all. So I'm doing this alternative lesson tonight, and I feel like it's justified to do so. Hey, Awakened Goddess, thank you. Queen Sister, Shalom. Brother True Jew, there seems to be a slight delay in your vocals, so hear it twice. Oh, okay, let's see. What about now? I think it should be fixed now. It should only be one vocal now. Thank you for that uh, insight, too. And excuse me. That's been going on for 7 minutes. I know y'all finna be like, what is he doing? I just started this new software family, so please forgive me. Please forgive me on that. Okay. But this lesson tonight is called You Think You Can't, but the Most High says you can. Thank you. I'm glad that it's back to one vocal. Now, y'all know I don't be liking to use the word can't, but there's people who don't have no problem using that word. And so we gonna keep on rocking. Let me see if I can get this into the chat. Y'all bear with me. The more I use this software, the better I'm gonna get at it. Okay, that's the name of tonight's lesson. You think you can't? The Most High says you can. Okay, you think you can't, but the Most High says you can. Now, this particular lesson came to me, inspired to me because of something that happened. I'm on the land. There are things that take place on the land that don't normally, well, if they take place in the city, it's kind of a different approach to it and how it happens because there's more access to amenity closer by, services, and this and that sort of thing. What happened was the other day, well, right now I'm getting ready for spring. I'm getting ready for spring, and with spring comes what? Planting of seeds. So let me tighten this up. I'm getting ready for springtime, and I'm building a fence. It's a corral style fence, because I want to do quite a lot of veggies this year. So it was best that I built a fence around the plots of land that are going to be dedicated to the garden this year, so that we can actually get these veggies planted in high increase without the threat of any little critters coming by and disturbing the process along the way. So it's hard to do a corral style fence. One the shower nozzle, where you turn it on hot and cold. So water is shooting out. And normally in the city, back when we lived in the Bay, if something like that was to happen, it's a matter of just turning reaching behind the shower someplace. There's usually an access portal behind the shower, and you just turn off the water source, or you turn off the water from exiting the nozzle or the shower head. You don't gotta go to the source of the water that's on the sidewalk. Okay, usually that's for like hot water heater changing and stuff like that, where you want to turn off the source itself. So I ended up with all this water shooting out all over the place, and it took me a minute to figure out how to turn it off because we still essentially new to our home. And that was one of the things that I didn't know where it was at. I didn't know where the cutoff switch was located. Well, I ended up calling some plumbers. Now, this is the Shabbat. So, I'm already feeling like, wait a second, I don't need to be reaching out to nobody. I don't need to be trying to get nobody out here to be paying nobody no service. And I don't need nobody working over here on the Shabbat. But this was something that was important. It was emergency, okay? And it just so happened to happen like right when the Shabbat began. So I had to figure out what I was going to do. Now, this lesson is going to be comprised of a couple different perspectives, and I hope that it truly helps whoever watches it. Now, I'm going to do my best to be brief with this lesson so that you can actually get the meat of it and take something away from this that's digestible, okay? But when this happened, immediately I jumped into action because we don't want water shooting out all over the place. However, I recognized that it was the Shabbat and I wanted to get on here and I really wanted to showcase a lesson and teach a lesson today that was a different lesson than what this one is. But I think it's important because to talk about this because I know a lot of us go through extremes to keep the Shabbat. Those of us who keep the Shabbat, we go through extremes to make sure we're not doing anything that goes against Torah on the Shabbat. 6 days you'll work, on the seventh day you'll rest. And a lot of us get our work in through the first 6 days of the week so that we can have a peaceful and restful shalom of Shabbat. And so I was like, dang, this is an emergency. I don't want to have to call nobody. I don't want to have to reach out to no plumbing. And I reached out to some supposed 24/7 plumbers, right? 24/7. And call us whenever you want and we'll run. Well, I called a couple plumbers. Let me tell you something. I Googled the men in my area. Didn't nobody pick up but like one. When he picked up, he said, "Yeah, hello. We 24/7, but we don't serve that area. Let me call one of my buddies who's close by and he'll come out." So I never got a call from the buddy. So that was out the window. Then I texted one of my neighbors just to see if he had any advice on what to do to shut the water off because he out here in the country with me. But he way down the road and he's an elder. So it wasn't no use in trying to get him to come out to help because it's already late. So he texted me and he told me what I could look for and what I need to do in a framework perspective. So I immediately realized that whatever was going to happen from yesterday until this problem was fixed, it was really going to be something I was going to have to do. And hence the name of this lesson is you think you can't, but the Most High says you can. Now, I didn't think I couldn't. I didn't think I couldn't do this job. I just knew that I'm not a plumber and there's things that I know how to do and I don't mind admitting when I don't know how to do something. And not being able to find that cutoff switch inside with it starting to be frigid cold and everything, it was already dark. I'm like, hey man, if I gotta go outside, I need to know exactly what I'm looking for. So I ended up having to go outside to the road. Now it's rural, so turns out that the water meter was out front, but it was way by the road. So that means I got to go outside my gate. So now I'm already messing up on Shabbat. I'm already messing up. I got to leave my gates. My gates was already locked and closed. So I'm like, man, okay. I get out there and I see two lids. One lid is on the right, one black lid is on the left. My neighbor said you want to look for the black lid. If you got it, you look for the black lid, open it up, and there should be a cutoff switch in there. You turn it to a 90-degree angle, and that's that. So I lifted up one of the lids, and sure enough, there was a pipe in there. Looked like some type of filter or something, which turned out to be a meter. And I looked at the filter, not the filter, but I looked at the pipe, and I took my vice grips and I shut what I thought was the water. I had my eldest son text me. He said, Papa, the water's still on. So I turned it back to where it originally was, and then I did it again. Nope, it's still on. So I'm like, oh man, okay, maybe it's a lot of water in the pipe. And I did cut it off, but it just need to finish, that aspect, and it need to just suck all that water out, and then in a little while it'll be off. Man, let me tell y'all something. That water, it didn't cut off. There was a lid next to that one. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is where I need to be. So I opened it up, and it was packed with soil. It was packed with mud. It was packed, like literally packed. It just looked like an empty hole with a lot of mud in it. And I was like, nah, I don't know if that's it, because I don't see no pipes or nothing. So it's getting colder. It's getting darker. And I have one of my sons with me. We like, hey, we did everything we could do. And so hopefully the issue is I cut this pipe off that I did cut off, and the water will just finish up, and then we won't have no action until I go get the part to fix the shower nozzle. Okay. Well, yesterday come. Now it's the middle of the Shabbat, early, and it's light outside. I'm like, this water ain't stopped yet. The water ain't stopped yet. So I said, all right, let me go outside now. And by the time I go outside, I got a call from one of the plumbers I called the night before. He said, oh, sorry, man, I don't deal with this area, but I'm going to give you the number to a guy who does. Text him and let him know, or call him and let him know that I sent you. I said, all right, thank you, sir. He gives me the number to the guy. I call him, no answer. Straight to voicemail. So now I'm knowing I have to do this job. So my Isha has sent me this verse to kind of keep me motivated and keep me lifted throughout everything that happens. So what we gonna do is we gonna pull this first scripture up. It's Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10. Okay, now this has a lot to do with the direction that this lesson and story is gonna go. Isaiah 41, verse 10 states, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not look around, for I am your Elohim. I shall fortify you. I shall also help you. I shall also uphold you with the right hand of my righteousness. Now, this was going to be the tone for the rest of the lesson that I had to learn. Because what I realized immediately is that these people, these plumbers who claim to be 24/7, it was just a marketing tactic. It was just something that they said that sounded cool, but they didn't really mean it. Keep it 100 with you, it could even be construed as false advertising. But I won't go there right now. But just keep in mind that it technically could be false advertising. But instead of me dealing with that, what I had to realize was that my help was coming from on high. Everything that I needed to do, I was going to have to trust in the Most High. Yeah, I've never done this before as far as this type of heavy duty plumbing. I've never had to go outside someplace and go to the road and figure out what meter and this and that I was to use. But I knew that whatever was going to happen, me calling these different companies, which ended up being different men, I was gonna have to do this job myself. And because it's something I never done, I was gonna it was probably gonna take a while for me to figure it out, or I was gonna get to it straight away. But usually when there's something that's in front of us that we're confronted with that we have to do, and we have to literally get through it, it's gonna be some sort of obstacle. It's not going to be clear as to how we're to go about it. We might have a framework, but then there's the practical application of that framework. And so I was dealing with not only the framework of what I had to do, but actually the practical application of it, because it wasn't like I was in training and then the thing pops up and I can apply my training. No, it was on the job training. Okay? So the first thing that I had to do was not fear. Usually when there's an emergency situation like what was happening, water is gushing out of something, it's usually something that we tend to anxiously move through, like, oh, I gotta hurry up and do this, I gotta do this. And then when no one's available to help, we oftentimes just sit down in defeatist mindset. And I knew I couldn't sit down in a defeatist mindset. And I knew that I had to figure out a way to rectify the situation, right? So the first step in rectifying the situation is not fearing what's going on and realizing that the creator of all things, that the God of Israel, the power of Israel is with us, and in this case is with me. So do not look around, for I'm your Elohim. That's the second thing. Now, I have to say this because we got a few scriptures to read. Do not look around. What does that mean? Do not look around. That means, one, don't be dismayed at what's happening. Understand that this is going to be a process and you have all the wherewithal to take care of it. But two, don't go calling nobody outside of me. Okay? Don't go calling nobody outside of me. And that's what the Most High needed me to understand in that moment. See, I'm not a plumber, okay? But everything that I was going to have to do, okay, everything that I was going to have to do, it was going to have to be through the guidance and leadership of the Most High. Now, he sent me a text. He had a text sent to me through my neighbor, which gave me the basic framework. But my neighbor, I didn't call him. And my neighbor wasn't finna come through and help me. He was only going to help me as much as he could, right? I was going to have to make this thing happen. And to not look around or to not call is something that I actually did. I called these plumbers, I called these people, and I'm knowing it's the Shabbat, but I'm also knowing that it's an emergency. So, once again, this lesson is going to be multifaceted. We're going to be talking about what we can do as within power of ourselves, and we also going to be talking about what the Most High is going to do on behalf of us, as well as how things are also done on the Shabbat, when it seems like we're supposed to be moving one way during the Shabbat, but something else pops up and happens to where we have to deal with that, even though it's the Shabbat. Okay? So do not look around, for I am your Elohim. Don't get up here and start trusting in men to the point where you depend on them in the stagnancy. Now, when those plumbers didn't contact me back, do y'all think I just stopped and just sat on my butt and was like, oh, well, I don't know what to do. I'm not going to be able to do nothing. Nah, I had to stay in action mode and I had to figure out how to deal with the situation from a solution based mindset. So don't look around. Instead, call out and cry out to the Most High to help guide you to the answer that you seek. When you do that, the Most High will fortify you. That's what happened with me. Instead of me depending on these other folks to come through, I had to realize, wait a second, I'm the man here. And I'm calling other men who, for whatever reason, have the training in place to deal with this situation. But that training came because they had a necessity, they had to do it, and then they found a way to market themselves and monetize their skill. Well, a couple things popped up because when I realized wasn't no plumber in my area, I said, well, shoot, if I learn this skill, guess what? I could be the 24/7 because I'm a night owl anyway. Somebody called me, I could come by and help them with this particular situation as long as it's not the Shabbat. So I wouldn't say 24/7. I would say something else, okay? Like 18/6 or something like that. I would just say something else. But the point that I'm saying, or 24/6, I'd be 24/6, not 24/7. But the point is, I realized that I was going to have to do this. I was going to have to trust in the Most High. I wasn't going to be able to trust in people who claim to be certified and claim 24/7 because they wasn't 24/7, but you know who was 24/7. You know that's with us every day of the week, 7 days a week, 24 hours out the day. The Most High. So the Most High needed me to realize that these jokers, you're not going to be able to depend on them no 24/7. You depend on me 24/7, and that's why you don't go looking around for help outside of me. That's what the Most High is saying. And when you don't do the outside thing, and you keep it all in house, and you keep your focus on me, then I'm gonna fortify you. So I ended up getting fortified. Now, last night it was difficult because, like I told you, it was cold. It was getting frigid. It was dark outside. I had my spotlight and we worked as diligently as we could. And plus, I wasn't trying to work because all I could think about was the Shabbat. But when I got up and that water was still going, I had to go out front and try again. So this is where the fortification came from. This is where the grace and mercy came from. And I say grace and mercy because I knew that in this particular instance, the Shabbat wasn't being kept how I normally like to keep it and how the Most High decrees for us to keep it. But, however, this was an emergency, and the Most High understands when there's an emergency versus when there's a frivolous need to do something because somebody's holding it over our head to do it. And I'm going to touch on that, Most High willing, in a little while. But when I was finally fortified in myself and I went back out there and said, it looks like I'm going to be the one to have to do this. It looks like I'm going to be the one that's going to have to make this happen. My attitude shifted. Now, I was willing to take instruction, but when I didn't even have any more instruction and I really had to figure this out for myself, I realized that my help was soon to come. And just like the title of this lesson, you think you can't, but the Most High says you can. Now, could it have been for a moment I didn't think I could? Could it have been for a moment that I felt like I wasn't capable or I wasn't qualified to do this plumbing thing? I wasn't certified. I didn't know where to go. Well, I got certified on the job. And it took a matter of me recognizing my relationship and connection with the Most High versus the lack of a connection with all of these different plumbers who didn't know me from a can of paint, who was not finna come out to my home, but there was still something that needed to be done. So the Most High fortifies me and also helped me. So when I went back out there, I went back to the nozzle that I originally went to, and I was like, okay, let me just try it one more time. Now remember, when we do something over and over, when we do the same thing over and over and expect a different result, that's called insanity. So I wasn't finna get caught up in that chip. You feel me? I wasn't finna get caught up with that. No, 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 no. I was gonna do one more time and make sure I fully had that thing open because remember the night before it was dark outside. It was getting colder. Maybe I moved too quickly. But today I had a little slight bit of warmth and I had the light on my side. So I twisted that knob and turned out it didn't work. So now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure out something. Something's gonna have to give. So I went to the next lid. Now before I did that, let me tell y'all something. I got a sign. Remember I said there looked like it was a filter box in the middle of the pipe? Well, it turns out I cleaned it off. And when I tapped it, first, before I cleaned it off, I tapped it to see if it was soft, like a filter. But it was hard, like glass. So I said, wait a second, this ain't no filter. And when I took my finger and smudged it over to clean it, that's when I realized, oh, wow, this is a meter. This is the meter. Okay. So on this meter, y'all, I see the numbers that's twirling on a meter, you know. Let me tell y'all the first sign, or one of the first signs. It had a made by or a made in. It had made in. It wasn't made in China. It wasn't made in Germany. It wasn't made in France. It wasn't made in the United States of America. Y'all want to know where it was made in? Please tell me why we Israelites, this the Shabbat, I'm out there working when I don't want to, when I feel like I'm breaking the Shabbat, doing something that is like, wow, so this is when it's going to happen. And the Most High plans everything to a T, and it's amazing. It's amazing the mysterious ways of the Most High. But this was a great lesson that I'll never forget. You know what that made by or made in Signia said? It said made in Israel, y'all. How many times have you seen something made in Israel? I hardly ever see that. But this particular meter, and I'm not even going to say it was random, it was right on point. Made in Israel, just like you and I. So it was one of them things where it's like, whoa, that's wild. So now I'm having a boost in confidence. I'm like, Most High, you got jokes for real. You got some jokes. So I closed the lid. Um, I closed the cover to the meter. Then I closed the lid. I look at the other lid like you must be it. Like the Most High was telling me, son, go and check that one out now that it's daylight. You got your rubber gloves on. Just go check it out. So I'm looking in all that dirt and all that crud and all that mud that's in that hole. And I stick my hand in it, and it's soft and gushy. So I start taking out clumps of the mud and the clay. I start taking it out, taking it out, taking it out, taking it out. And eventually, another meter is revealed. In this one, the cap is off again, and I'm now knowing that that middle part is not no filters, but I tap on it anyway. Tap, 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 and it's glass. So I wash that one off, and I can see the meter just going crazy, spinning like this. I'm like, oh, this might be it. So as I'm taking the soil and all the wet dirt and stuff out, mind you, it's a lot of dirt. I'm taking it out. I got about 4 or 5 inches deep before I saw the pipe for it. Then I see another switch. It looked just like the one on the other side. So I took my vice grips, I cleaned it off a little bit more. I took my vice grips and I turned it. I turned it to a 90-degree angle, clockwise. Y'all, that was the one. One of my sons immediately texts me, Papa, you did it finally. So now the water is off, right? I'm like, yes, everything worked out to a T. Yes, it finally worked. All I could do is give thanks about it. All I could do is give thanks. All I could do is give thanks. And so when that happened, and I looked at the process, I was like, man, somebody was gonna tax me for coming out here removing some dirt, because they was, as a plumber, they automatically was expecting that, we had some rains. They more than likely would have known from experience that if there's the meter right here, that this under all this caked up soil, so he was going to have to dig it all out to get to the access point that he was going to need in order to turn off the water. So more than likely he was going to tax me. But the Most High was saying, nah, son, you gonna do this yourself, because you have to learn how to do this. And y'all know I like to say that manhood isn't a destination, it's a journey. Well, a lot of us in the city, yeah, we become physical men. You know what I'm saying? We mature, we grow, but we all don't know certain skills that's actually going to keep us moving and shaking the way we need to. And out here in the country, one thing about manhood and one thing about living in the country is you got to know how to do things that you might not ever did before. You got to know how to make things happen that you might not ever did before, and you really got to laterally think about what you do. And so me taking that soil out and that all of that clay, it was like, whoa, all right, now I learned how to do this water line thing. Now here's the funny part. Last night it was so cold, we was just trying to get back inside, honestly. And there was a metal rod in the ground with a blue flag attached to it, but it was hid by the grass. So I looked and I pulled it up. Please tell me why right next to the lid, that metal rod with the blue flag red water line on it. Now, I didn't see it last night. It was hidden, and plus it was too cold to be looking around. But today, I saw it, and it was right in my face. So I knew that the switch that I turned off indeed was the water line. Now, this was really cool. This was really cool. Now, I can go and get the piece. Now, when we talk about working on the Shabbat, when we talk about doing things on the Shabbat that seem to break the Shabbat, Yahweh addressed this, okay, and addressed it very well. But what we're going to do is go to that real quick, because it's very important that we get this idea. Okay, now I'm going to read from the book of Matthew, but I have a couple verses highlighted right now that I feel are very pertinent to what happened. Okay, and if you just now joining the live stream, welcome, family. Y'all know y'all could tap in with me, leave a comment. Please remember to hit the like button too. All right, because we got to play catch up. We redeeming the time, because YouTube thought they was slick. YouTube thought they was slick, and they actually did. They removed the video that got me to strike. But if you want to watch the video in its entirety, you can go to my new Rumble channel at True Jew, and you can watch the video right there, and you'll see, and you can make a decision for yourself on if it was hate speech or if it was something that went against YouTube's guidelines. Now we know the truth of the matter is, if it's true and it's real and it cut too deep, then it's gonna be against YouTube's guidelines. Okay, so that's just fine and dandy too. But what we want to talk about and what was revealed to me was that on the Shabbat, sometimes there are emergencies that take place that are out of our hands. And we have to be able to deal with these emergencies while staying connected to the Most High, even though it's the Shabbat. Now, before I read Matthew 10, or Matthew 12, 11 through 13, or 10 through 13, one thing that hit me was, okay, I didn't want to work on the Shabbat. This happened though, and I had to fix it. Would the Most High be upset with me if I went out to fix this? Because not only am I working, but I'm stepping outside my gates. Okay? So would the Most High be upset with me, or would this be okay? And if I cry out for forgiveness, would the Most High forgive me? This was my main concern. Okay? And then I remembered something Yahweh said about a sheep falling into a pit, and how, you know, if a sheep falls into a pit, you just gonna leave it there, even though it's the Shabbat, or you gonna get out there and retrieve your sheep, because its life is on the line and it's an emergency. I was like, I'm gonna go retrieve my sheep. I'm gonna go out there and retrieve my sheep and pray that the Most High forgive me once I repent for that. But that's still an emergency. And so I took that analogy and that metaphor and applied it to what happened, where I had to leave my gates and when I had to go outside to actually do this work. And it hit me. I'm okay. See, I had to learn how to apply trust into the Most High's guidance and leadership in that very extreme moment. Calling on plumbers and all this sort of thing isn't what the Most High wanted me to do. The Most High wanted me to continue to call on Him. And focusing on the Most High is exactly what we're to do on the Shabbat. So that's what I did, even though I was having to work. Now, the work that entailed for me, we just went over it. It was an emergency situation. Had that situation not arisen, I wouldn't have been out there tinkering away at the water pipe. Okay? But the other thing that gets me is that once that job was done, once the emergency was done, I didn't go to the hardware store, even though it was daytime now. I didn't go to the hardware store to buy the shower nozzle, okay, because it was still the Shabbat. So, whatever I could do that was equitable within the emergency to do, that's what I did. But once the emergency was done, I didn't extend that breaking of Torah into another area by picking up and going to purchase some shower nozzles. Okay? Instead, I said, hey, this is going to be done right now. Thank you, thank you. This is going to be done. And once it's done, then I'll relax with the family. We'll talk about this as a lesson. And then if evening comes, or I get the window of opportunity to leave tomorrow, most high willing, to go get the parts, then I'll get the parts as soon as possible, because of course we need water. But my thing is, I wasn't going to extend my breaking of Torah now that the emergency was done further by saying, well, I already did the emergency, so I might as well go get the part too, and then still been up working and tinkering away. No, the main objective was complete, which is to turn the water off. So when that was complete, I didn't go on to the store and then go purchase nozzles and all of this type of thing. Okay? And it's the same thing with this brother right here. So let's read Yahweh his account. Okay? And it's Matthew chapter 12, verses 10 through 13. And see, there was a man having a withered hand, and they asked him, saying, is it right to heal on the Shabbat? So as to accuse him. So the actual context of these verses is that there was a man who had a lame hand, a withered hand, and he was asking Yahweh to heal him. It just so happened to be the Shabbat. And the Pharisees and Sadducees were going to accuse Yahweh of working that day because it was going to be a miracle. And so this is what Yahweh says in response to that. Then he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." And he stretched it out, and it was restored. Oh, excuse me, I skipped ahead. Excuse me, let's go back to 10. And see, there was a man having a withered hand, and they asked him, saying, "Is it right to heal on the Shabbat?" so as to accuse him. And he said to them, "What man is there among you who has one sheep, and if it falls into a pit on the Shabbat, shall not take hold of it and lift it out?" So if a sheep meanders away from the flock and it falls into a pit, as a shepherd, it's your job to get that sheep out. But getting that sheep out requires some work. And we're not supposed to work on the Shabbat. However, in an emergency situation where something has to be done immediately to rectify the situation, in this case a sheep falling into a pit, it is equitable for that shepherd to reach in and go look for that pit, to go look for that sheep and reach down into that pit to get it. Okay? Verse 12. How much more worth is a man than a sheep? So it is right to do good on the Sabbath, on the Shabbat. So we see that doing good on the Shabbat, especially in an emergency situation, is not only permittable, but it's requested of us. Now this is where a lot of us get murky because we're living in an extreme where we just really want to keep the Shabbat to the best of our ability, and we don't want to displease the Most High. A lot of us have made it to where our jobs, we don't have to go in to work on the Shabbat. So we really want it to be a day of rest. But what if something comes about where you need to step away from the Shabbat from the standpoint of resting and praising and singing songs of praise and thinking and reflecting? Well, that thing should still be causing you to focus on the Most High. So if you have to pull a sheep out of a pit, your mind should be on the Most High the whole time. Even if your mind is on the Most High from the perspective of, ooh, I'm supposed to be in the Shabbat right now. I'm not supposed to be um, working or this and that. Even saying that, your mind is focused on the Most High. All right? Keep that in mind. So, how much more worth is a man than a sheep? So it is right to do good on the Shabbat. Then he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." And he stretched it out, and it was restored as healthy as the other. So right now we're seeing, whoa, whoa, whoa. So Yahweh shall restored the man's hand. It was healthy, and he did it on the Shabbat, which means that there was some form of work that took place. And if there was a form of work that took place, then he broke Torah. But Yahweh knew better, and he healed the man because it was better to do good on the Shabbat than to not do good in this sense and keep the law when the law itself was to do good. See the caveat there? And so I love that story because I lived it today or yesterday. I actually lived it. And it made me think more so about how we have grace and mercy extended to us, right? But how can we receive mercy if we're always doing something right? We want grace and mercy from the Most High, not because we're doing right, but grace and mercy is a byproduct of when we do wrong. So when we do wrong in life, if we want grace and mercy, we have to cry out to the Most High for it because we are no longer living right. Okay? It's the same thing as forgiveness. I could only ask for forgiveness if I what? Do something wrong or do something worthy of forgiveness. Okay? Forgiveness wouldn't exist if didn't nobody do nothing wrong. So we seek the grace and mercy of the Most High, understanding that we have faults. Okay? But if we didn't have faults, there wouldn't be no grace and mercy. And so this is the power of humbling ourselves. Okay? Yeah, I didn't want to work. I'm going to keep on saying it. I didn't want to do nothing on Shabbat. I already did everything that I thought I was supposed to do 6 days ahead. But now this day, all of a sudden, this weird instance happens and I have to address it, or it's going to be a larger problem than what it should have been had I been on a regular weekday, and I could have handled it without the fear of breaking any Torah or breaking the Shabbat. Okay? And what else the Most High needed me to desperately get is that, look, son, you don't be trusting in no man. Now, y'all know I get on here and I reference Jeremiah 17 fairly often when it comes to not making man's flesh your arm to trust in, but leaning on the everlasting arm of the Most High. So when we lean on the everlasting arm of the Most High, we go back and do what we go back and do what Isaiah 41 verse 10 said, okay, which is, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not look around, meaning don't go calling nobody. Don't go reaching out to nobody to do a service for you. You don't do none of that. For I am your Elohim. Call out to me first and foremost. Reach out to me first. Let me guide you. If you do need some extracurricular help, let me guide you to the people who I want for you. You don't go looking out for yourself. Because when you do that, you're going to end up like what my situation was, which is I can look for myself if I want to, but ain't nobody going to come through. Now, here's the thing about me. If I would have got upset with that, if I would have stopped and got stagnant with that, then I would have missed the lesson that was coming along with this blessing. Straight up, I would have missed it. I would have totally missed the fence. I would have missed the boat. I would have just missed it because now I'm sitting down worried about my water still running out. But I got a whole day where I could have been active in the light. I get being in the dark. I get that. But now that it's daylight, I need to do everything in my power to rectify the situation. And if I'm just sitting on my butt waiting for somebody to call me back or text me back, I'll be sitting down waiting forever. This is why when those situations where you see like a castaway or you see somebody trapped on a deserted island. Well, how deserted is it? If it's a palm tree on that thing, best believe I'm chopping that palm tree down. I'm going to hollow it out and I'm going to make me a canoe. Okay, and I'm out of there. So this is what we have to figure out. Okay. The other thing is, again, do not look around, for I am your Elohim. I shall fortify you. I shall also help you. I shall also uphold you with the right hand of my righteousness. So we know the Most High has a right hand, and we know the Most High has a left hand. Now, the left hand side of the Most High is reserved for all sorts of wicked beings that um initiate the punishments of the Most High from a wicked perspective. Okay? Then you have the right side. These are where all your angels reside. These are all the good folks live. These are where um, you see the goodness and the angelic presence, if I may. Okay? This is the side that Yaibasha, the sun, sits on, even. So when we think about the right versus the left, we want to be upheld with the right hand of righteousness. We want to be guided with the right hand of righteousness. And instead of leaning on man's flesh, we want to be able to lean on the everlasting arm of the Most High, which brings us to our final scripture. And this is very important because if we don't look around and we focus solely on the Most High, guess what happens to us? Excuse me, y'all. Guess what happens to us when we do that? We get to receive the blessings that the Most High has in store for us. And we get to actually move in a way where we please the Most High while having an expected end filled with hope and faith that the Most High will come through for us. Now, Jeremiah chapter 17, verses 5 through 10 read, Thus saith Yahweh, Cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from Yahweh. Now, how would a man be cursed for trusting in another man and making flesh his arm? Well, the cursing comes from the byproduct of not trusting the Creator to see you through. Man is a creation. If I reach out to such and so, that's still a creation. He is still a creation like me. So I need to be able to bypass those individuals who are like me and get to the source. because the source is where the richness and wealthiness of the answer actually lies. And if the Most High guides you, or when the Most High guides you and guides me, it's the divine presence. It's the Ruach HaKodesh. The Ruach HaKodesh is installed within us and around us to help us get out of these situations that we find ourselves in. Now, what we want to do is lean on the Most High. We're about to read that in Jeremiah chapter 17. Thus saith Yahweh, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from Yahweh. Oh, the echo is back. Oh, snap. All right, there we go. Thank you. Thank you. So, what we're going to do is read from Jeremiah chapter 17. Okay, excuse me. But the point is, we want to be able to lean on the Most High. We want to not trust in man from the standpoint of, oh, I'm in trouble. Man got to come and save me. Man is going to show you. They'll say that they 24/7, but they really not. Okay, the Most High is the only constant that we have. Even if y'all was depending on me to be constant in my videos, which I would like to be, which I wanted to be, guess what? There were forces at play that prevented me from even getting on this platform to release my content. However, if you were privy to know about Rumble and what I was doing on Rumble, you would have more than likely came and visited me over there. However, YouTube made it to where I couldn't even do a community post to let everybody know that I was on Rumble. So there's the catch 22 with that. So when it comes to Jeremiah chapter 17, we want to make sure that we don't move in a way where we end up getting cursed. Okay? We don't want to be cursed. We already under the curses. We don't want to be doubly cursed. What we're doing is seeking to be removed out of the curses. But that don't mean that those curses won't persist. Or that doesn't mean that if I'm leaning on the flesh of man, for instance, meaning trusting in what man has to do, that those curses won't be multiplied unto me. So verse 6 says, let's stay at verse 1. Thus saith Yahweh, cursed be the man that trusteth in man and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from Yahweh. My heart never departed from Yahweh. If my heart departed from the Most High, I'd be sitting on my couch depressed, moping, trying to figure out when somebody is going to call me back instead of taking action and charge for it myself. I ended up taking action myself. Okay? And look, y'all see my book right here. That's my book. Y'all go ahead on and support me by getting the book. Um, do y'all remember the name of the book? From Clutter to Cleanliness, The Renewal of a Mind, A Success Story by True Jew. Y'all go ahead on and get that book. It's on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. It's on everywhere you would get books. And especially on my website, truejew.org. Okay, truejew.org. That's where my website is located. So let's go to verse 6. Jeremiah 17, verse 6. For he shall be like the heath in the desert, and shall not see when good cometh, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt in a salt land, and not inhabited. So we want the waters of life. The waters of life is the scriptures. When we lack in the water of life that's been delivered unto us through this sacred word, we end up like a heath in the desert, like a dry desert plant. Okay? And we're not going to be able to tell when good comes because we've been so focused on bad. We won't be able to tell when good comes because we've been waiting on others to help us out of our situation instead of taking the power that was given to us to get ourselves out of the situation. If I hadn't have dug 4 to 5 inches deep and started removing all that clay and that crud from out of that hole, I wouldn't have gotten to the point. I wouldn't have gotten to my eventual blessing. But the Most High is the one who helped me do that. In meeting the Most High halfway or taking steps towards the Most High take a step toward me. 2 steps. We take 1 step toward the Most High gonna take 2 steps toward us. Okay? So let me read this to you. For he shall be like the heath in the desert, and shall not see when good cometh, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land and not inhabited. Now, I don't want to be inhabited in no salt land. I don't want to be around no parched places. I got to be around vibrancy and life. I got to be around goodness. I don't want to be around stillness and stillness and stagnation. Okay? And I hope the same for y'all too. But verse 7 reads, Blessed is the man that trusteth in Yahweh, in whose hope Yahweh is. So now I'm hoping, oh, Abba, please send me the person that I need to do to help me. Please guide me the person that's going to be able to help me rectify this situation and get this water cut off. Most High wasn't having it. He said, son, you going to cut it off because this is part of you learning how to be a man. See, I don't know everything, but when it comes to services and it comes to things like that, I'm learning more and more that we're going to have to be self-sufficient soon. We're going to have to be able to do what we pay people to do for us when we don't know what to do. And so I went back out there and I was able to make that water cut off and essentially keep us from sustaining any damage. And also, because there's no water shut-off valve in the house, I was going to have to replace the nozzles anyway. The water's still going to have to get shut off, or it's going to be splashing me in my face as I'm putting the new nozzle on. So either way it go, that water had to get cut off until further notice, right? But check this. Blessed is the man, excuse me. Blessed is the man that trusteth in Yahweh, and whose hope Yahweh is. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. Did y'all hear how powerful that was? First of all, we are typified as trees in the eyes of the Most High. And we want to be planted by what we was just talking about, the waters of life. Okay? We want to be planted by the waters of life so that our roots can spread deep into the ground. Okay? By the river. Excuse me, y'all. We want to be able to do this. And when our roots are solidified in the ground by a river, that means we're always watered. The roots in this case are our mind. Okay? They're our mind. And whenever we take our mind to apply it to something, as Hebrew Israelite people, and as people who want to live within the tenets of Hebrew Israelite customs and culture as given through Torah, we have to be able to not only use our minds, or think with our minds, excuse me, but we also have to be able to use our mind. And when we use our mind according to Scripture, according to Torah, we are like a tree planted by the waters, okay, who spread its roots out by the river. Okay, and when we do that, we shall not see when heat cometh. What do people say when they get upset? They say, ooh, I'm hot. I'm hot. That's what people say when they get upset. Ooh, I'm hot. But when you are solidified in the truth and you know that everything happens for a reason, and you could kind of laugh it off and shirk things off that might seem very important in the moment, but are actually learning tools and learning mechanisms for you to grasp deeper concepts, then you'll say, man, you know what? It's all good. I ain't going to allow this to phase me. My head is cool, not hot. And the only way you're going to keep a cool head is what? By being firmly planted in the waters. You know, if you've ever been to the land, especially certain places out here, you know it gets hot quick. And trees die. Trees get hit with lightning. Trees catch on fire. All sorts of things. And it's like, woo. I'm glad that those trees over there is planted by some water and got some sprinkler systems and some green grass around them. But a lot of plants don't. Okay? And we're plants. So there are many plants on the earth who have not tasted of the water of life because they have refused to. Unlike the plant that was planted with the tree trunk and leaves, that plant don't get to choose where it's going. It just is blessed to even be alive. But for that plant to be planted by water that runs, that's not stagnant, that's not brackish, and those roots are deep in that ground, that's where the Most High wanted that plant to be. Okay, the Most High wanted that plant to be there, and so it is there. And with it being there, not only does it provide shade and sometimes sustenance to the animals round about it, even people, but it also has its roots deep in the ground and is solidified there. Okay? Verse 8, for he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green always. Okay? And shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. See, we want our leaves to be green. Okay? We want our leaves to be green. Leaves in this case could be typified as actions. Okay? Leaves in this particular case can also be typified by thoughts. Okay? So we want our thoughts to be pure, we want our actions to be pure, and shall not be careful in the year of drought. We don't have to worry about being depleted when we are planted in the word of life, in the water of life. We don't have to be worried about depleted. When the famine comes throughout the land of the word, we will have the word and be able to share freely of the word when those who have not been paying attention are starting to pay attention. So the drought is not having access to the truth. And when a person doesn't have access to the truth, they might get worried. Okay? They might start getting worried. So it's best to have access to the truth. That way you can make sense of your situation and trust in the Most High. Because remember, cursed be the man that trusteth in man and maketh flesh his arm. Because when we trust in man and make flesh our arm, what happens? What happens? We begin to lose trust in the Most High, okay? And our heart departs from the Most High and begins to attach itself to those other men, okay? Verse 9, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Now, the Hebraic perspective of heart, it really means mind. So the mind is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Well, when you realize that the mind is wicked, okay, or the mind is deceitful, okay, of all things and desperately wicked, then we can say, dang, if I was finna give all my attention and energy over to somebody who really not finna help me anyway, well, I don't get the help, but they still get my energy. Whereas if I take that same energy and apply it to connecting with the Most High gets my energy, my praise, my worship, and I get all the help that I need. You see how that works? So it's a beautiful situation. Lastly, verse 10. Ayayebaye, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruits of his doing. So now we know we need a blessing. We know we need a miracle essentially because we ain't never did this thing before. Some of us get to the point where we like, I ain't never did it before. I can't do that. And others of us is like, hey, I've never done this before, and I mean, I could learn, but I don't know if I'm, gonna do it. But I think one of the realer aspects is you think you can't, but the Most High says you can. You actually can. And to prove it, the scriptures tell us right here. Uh, oh, the thumbnail actually. I'm looking for it. The thumbnail itself. You can do all things through Hamashiach who strengthens you. Okay? You can do all things. Let me I don't know how this works like this. Let me see something. We gonna pull it up on the screen. Y'all give me about 3 seconds and let's see if we can do this. Okay. That's Philippians 4:3. Y'all see that? let's pull it up and make it big so y'all can see. I'm still getting used to this. But look at that. You say I can't do it. You say you can't do a thing. But the Most High says you can do all things. All right, through Hamashiach, or through Christ who strengthened me. And that's Philippians 4:13. And so, in the same vein, in the same aspect that we're dealing with, we have these great opportunities to trust in the Most High and trust in the Most High enough to where we get the desired result that we set out on originally. Okay? And so I want to just talk to y'all about that and just let you know that if you're dealing with something in life right now that seems to be a little hard or outside of your pay grade, that you got to give it to the Most High. But you also have to be willing to work toward effectually changing whatever it is that you need changed. Okay, so the Most High is going to provide you with the answers that you seek as long as you seek the connection with Him first. The Most High is going to provide you with the wherewithal, with the tools, with the experience, as long as you seek Him first. And that's why we have to learn not to, one, trust in our own minds with certain things, because our mind is deceitful above all things. There's sometimes when our minds tell us to do one thing and we know we should do better, or we know we should do the different thing. There are times when we need to figure out how to do a thing and our mind causes us to move into idleness. And if we move into idleness, any assortment of ideas can come in instead of the ones we're supposed to be focused on, and we will lean on those ideas and begin to do things that are not savory. We'll begin to do things that are not good for ourselves nor for those around us. Okay? So allow the Most High to search your heart and wait on the answer that the Most High has to reveal to you, and then be willing to get dirty. This is the next part. Now I know we talking about the Shabbat, we talking about staying clean, but when you gotta go get a sheep from out a pit, you might have to rope it out. You might have to climb down in there and get it yourself. Okay, but that's the good thing to do. Now, when it came to my emergency, the night before or earlier in the Shabbat at nighttime, I was like, man, I know it ain't this one. And I'm looking at the easiest option. Okay, but when the easy option wasn't the one, I had to go into the dirty option. I had to go to the other portal with the meter in it. I had to go a whole nother thing, and this time I had to actually dig my hand in that soil and pull it all out. But it's gunky, it's clay, so it's all gunky, and I had to pull it out, scoop by scoop. I had to break through roots that had been established and all this other stuff, and then I got to my goal. And just thinking about it now, I literally had to break through roots. Okay, I had to break through roots. Okay? And it's funny we talking about Jeremiah chapter 17 verse 8. Okay? But I had to literally break through roots. I had to get my hands dirty. I had to move that stuff out the way in order to receive my desired result. So sometimes you're going to have to get dirty with it. Sometimes you're going to have to just, hey, Most High, I know you got me. Let me do what I got to do as you have revealed it to me. And may I come out on the other side victorious. That's the goal. Also, when you begin doing for yourself, you end up saving a lot of capital. You end up saving capital, and if you do it the way that the Most High has decreed for you to do it, you also gain a lot of experience where you don't have to pay another guy to come out. Okay? Now, I told my sons, I said, now I'm going to show y'all how to do this. Okay? I'm going to show y'all how it's done. So if this ever happens again, you'll know how to do it if I'm not around. So, in that statement, it hit me. I could show my sons or let them know how to do it, but it's not going to even matter when it needs to be done. And what do I mean by that? Well, I had a framework that was given to me by my neighbor. My neighbor don't live on my property, so he was basing his framework off of what his property looked like. Okay? Now, when I got out there, I didn't initially see what was going on, Because in his framework, he didn't say, hey, now be careful. One of the meters might be covered in gunk and mud, so you're going to have to dig deep in there and pull that stuff out. Okay, he wasn't able to say that. But because I have the experience now, and I know after a rain, more than likely that filter right there, I mean that portal right there is going to be dumped into with all sort of clay and mud and mire and silt. I could instruct my sons to go and expect that to be. But guess what? Now there's another level added to it, because even though my sons have the framework, even though my sons know exactly what meter portal it is, even though my sons are aware of having to possibly reach in there with gunk, now the new problem is I ain't doing it. You do it. I ain't doing it. You do it. Nah, man. I've got my new shoes on. Well, I got on my new shirt and my new pants. So that's what would happen. You see, so a decision still has to be made to actualize the desired result. Okay? So I hope y'all got food from this first lesson back. It was really important for me to keep going, but at the same token, I understand why YouTube would feel the way they feel. So I'm not mad at YouTube at all. I'm just taken aback. Okay, I'm taken aback because now that shows exactly what truth they do not like, and it shows how to continue to strive for what it is that you know to be true, even at the expense of persecution, even at the expense of punishment, even at the expense of shadow banning, even at the expense of black listing and all this sort of thing. So it's cool. I feel like I'm in great company. What's up, YouTube family, with all the folks that done got strikes and this and that? What it do, what it do. So I hope this lesson benefited you all. I truly do. And as always, if you have any questions for me or want to engage with me further, you can email me at therealtruejew@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment in the comment thread and we'll get to it that way. But this your bro True Jew tapping in with you the only way I know how. Raw, real, and uncut. Thank you for all the supporters over this past 8 months, 9 months that this channel has been up. Most High willing, we gonna keep on rocking and rolling. You know how I do. But I got to come at you raw, real, and uncut. And I hope that we can have these endeavors in your life that are new for you. That you're able to say, I can do this. Save yourself some money. Not that you want to or need to, but that money that you save will be converted into experience. Being the experience. Because we live in a time now where self-sufficiency is going to be the way to go. You need to know how to do this. You need to know how to do that. You know how to do this. You need to know how to do that. And if you don't know how to do these things, but are dependent on someone else to do it for you in an emergency situation that's greater than your own, like a SHIT hit the fan type moment, where everybody's going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, you're not going to be able to just call no plumber and say, can you come to my home? You're not going to be able to call FedEx and all these people to help you with whatever you got going on. So it balances itself out, is my point. And you should be able to move in a way where, okay, this is new for me. I've never done this before, but I'm game. I'm willing to learn, or I'm willing to get dirty enough to reach my goal. See, on the other side of that soil, as I was scooping it out, was the destiny of my success. Okay? What's this? Excuse me. Something popped up. I thought the live stream was over. Along the way was the destiny of my success. All right. So in that success, we still recording? Okay. In that success was my shalom, was my peace. Once that was done, I didn't worry about having to go to the hardware store. I didn't worry about having to go out yet because it was still the Shabbat at that point. Now I could get back to my regularly scheduled programming. Now I could say, woo, this is done. Thank you, Most High. I gave all my thanks, all my praise. And guess what? Even though it was the Shabbat, I was worried about breaking the Torah, so my mind was still on the Most High. I wasn't out here frivolously doing something, playing a game. I wasn't out here cutting up. I wasn't out here going against Torah purposefully. So Torah was always on my heart. Okay? It was always on my heart. And so that's the blessing. That's part of the blessing, is that the blessing. Y'all know me, blessing. Blessings with lessons. Okay? It's a blessing in the lesson. And so this is a beautiful time to be alive. But had I not pushed myself, had I not done this, I'd still be dealing with the situation. I wouldn't be that much closer to real manhood. I wouldn't be that much closer to the skill set that I needed in order to make these types of things happen without access to somebody. Okay? Because that's the time we move into. So I needed to know how to do this. And then I needed to continue to work and cultivate my relationship with the Most High. And I think more importantly, the Most High needed to cultivate that relationship with me. Okay, even more. Okay, but I knew I wasn't going to give up. That wasn't an option. And I also knew that I wasn't going to sit down and be waiting for nobody to help me outside of the Most High. And so that's what happened. I was helped. I was assisted by the divine presence of the Most High. I had everything that I needed, all my tools. Everything was smooth at that point of me locating the water line. I turned it off. Boom. And within half a second, the water was off, and I felt a buzz on my leg from my son texting me saying, "Papa, you finally did it." Okay, and so it was a momentous opportunity to celebrate as well, and to continue to sing song of praise. And before I go, that's the last thing. What is faith if you have everything going right for you? Now, I know you can have faith that things stay going right. Ooh, everything is going right in my life. Ooh, Most High, please keep everything going right in my life. But is that really realistic? Adversity is meant to try us and to test us in the furnace of affliction. So, faith is at its strongest, in my opinion, when everything is not going right. Okay, when everything seems to be going all kind of ways, that's when faith is the strongest. And so instituting a level of hope that would produce faith, that would then produce the desired result of the thing unseen that is actually being hoped for, that's when we are able to cultivate an even greater relationship with the Most High. Because now we got to move out on faith. Now we have to wait and truly lean on the everlasting arm of the Most High. And it's nothing like that, because the Most High is going to bless you in ways that so-called certified dude is not going to be able to bless you. Okay, that Most High is going to bless you in ways that supposed 24/7 hour business is not going to be able to support or send help your way. And the Most High truly is 24/7. As a matter of fact, the Most High so cool with it. The Most High is out of time. And I don't mean out of time like running out of time. I mean outside of time. Okay? If I'm the Most High, this is time. This mouse is time. It's a creation. Okay? It's a substance. It's an idea. It's a creation. So the Most High created time to govern us here in this realm. But doesn't have to be subject to time himself. So that's something else you got to think about. So all of this is a great opportunity to learn about what's really going on. Okay? It's a great opportunity to learn. And it's a great opportunity to call on the Most High. Okay? Remember, if you say you can't do it, the Most High says you can do it. And you can do all things. So that's my time for today. I hope everybody has a blessed rest of the weekend and a blessed first day of the week. Okay? And now that the channel is back, Most High Mama Papa willing, I'll be able to keep on producing these lessons, keep on pushing them out there. But y'all know what up. It's your bro True Jew, your Ak True Jew. You know I love you to life always. I want you to stay blessed, stay vigilant, stay blessed. Most High Mama Papa willing, I'll be back with another one. But until then, gone.